Hi guys, I hope you're doing well today. Today is another story time, but today this story time is extra special because this story is happening on the anniversary of the story. So 7 years ago, Dan and I legally got married. And you're like, wait a minute, what does that mean? Like, aren't you married when you're married? And that's what today's story is about. So the last video I talked about how Dan proposed and how my reaction wasn't just a normal yes or whatever, like I was screaming and super excited. Well, our wedding story is no less exciting. It's got twists and turns and all that fun stuff in it. So here we go. And I will post pictures of this as well after I tell the story, so you can see those. So what happened was Dan and I joined Wycliffe Bible Translators as missionaries when we were still finishing college. We graduated in 2013. We joined Wycliffe Bible Translators. I think like we started the training and stuff in like March. And first you do this online training, and then they do a training which they call Equip, and that is usually in person. And so we were going to do the online training, we were going to get married, and then 3 weeks later we were going to go have this training on site in Orlando at Wycliffe Bible Translators headquarters. So we were going to get married June 22nd, and then 3 weeks later have this training. We're like, yeah, this is going to work, this is great. And so as you're doing this training and stuff, they have like coaches and people to help you along the way and just make sure you're doing things right. Well, we were not married yet, but we were going through this training, and we told them, you know, we're engaged, this is when our wedding date is set for, like, this is a done deal, we know this is going to happen, and we figured it would be fine. Well, they said, that's fine, but if 3 weeks is not a long enough time period to process your paperwork. So if you get married when you're planning to, you can go to the training 3 weeks later, but you're going to have to go as separate individuals. You can't go as a married couple. So you'll go to the training as individuals, and then you'll have to come back and go to the training again as a married couple. And we're like, you know, the trainings was already like $1,500 per person, so it was complicated. And we're like, that doesn't, you know, sound like a good idea, or just something that makes a whole lot of sense, because we had been dating for a really long time. Guys, we had known each other since I was 14 years old. Okay, and at this point I think I'm like, I was 22. And so it was a really long time. And so we're like, okay, that doesn't really make sense. Is there anything that we can do so that we don't have to go through the same exact training twice? And we can just go through once as a married couple and be done. And we're like, well, you could change your wedding date. We're like, change our wedding date? Okay, so this is in, this conversation was being had at the beginning of April. And it's like, change our wedding date. We're getting married in April, May, like 3 months at this point, you know, and you want us to change our wedding date. It's like, we've already sent out save the date cards. My mom's already made a quilt with the date of when we're getting married on it. Like, all this stuff has happened. you know, and it's set in stone. Like our wedding's already scheduled. We already have the venue. We already, like, everything had already been done. And we're like, so it's not a good idea to sit there and say, oh, let's just change the wedding date. It's not feasible. And so we're like, let's talk to our pastor and see if he has any suggestions. Like, we figured at this point, Lord, please don't let us be the only ones that have ever had this experience. You know, there's gotta be other people that have been through this situation. Well, with talking with our pastor, come to find out, there have been people that have been through this situation, and a lot of times when it happens, it's actually military families. You know, like a family or a couple might be planning to get married a year from now, but then they find out, oh wait, he's gonna get deployed. You know, and we don't know what's gonna happen, and it's just, you know, you kind of have the thoughts of let's get married. And so they change the wedding, or have a small wedding beforehand and then later have the bigger wedding. And so our pastor's like, you know, I could bring the documents, get all that taken care of, and we could just do a small ceremony in your parents' living room and not tell anybody about it, and just, you know, just have it small and get stuff done, and then move on from there, you know. And then you can send it off to Wycliffe and say, hey, look, here we got married, here's all the documents, here's everything you need, and just move on from there. And we're like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, let's do that. And so and it was a really short notice. I don't remember exactly, got popcorn in my teeth, exactly when we had this conversation with our pastor, but it was like maybe a week notice. It was very, very short. So like, Dan picked me up from school, because I'm at Grace College, and he's still finishing up at Manchester, but since he's doing his student teaching, he was living at home so that he could be closer to the school he was teaching at. And so he picks me up, we go to Walmart, and I was like, okay, if we're gonna do this, I want to do it right. So I went and found a white dress, which I still have today. I went to the flower section and got flowers so I could have like a bouquet, and you know, let my mom and dad know ahead of time what was happening, and they said, okay, we're okay with this, but you know, let's still make June 22nd the big deal. And so they didn't tell my sister what was going on. They didn't really tell my brother what was going on. I think it was just my mom and dad that were there, and the pastor. We did it in my mom and dad's living room. I wore a white dress. My college roommate did my hair for me. And Dan had already had the wedding ring. And so I wore it for a little bit, because I was like, you know, I was excited. I was, you know, hyped up. It's like, oh, I'm getting married, because yes, we had chosen, even though we were having this wedding, that we weren't going to move in with each other and start living together until June 22nd. Like, this is, you know, when the official stuff is happening, this is when it's written down on paper, and, you know, there's no going back come June 22nd. And so it was a big thing, and there was a lot to it and all this stuff. And so I don't know, it was super exciting and thrilling, and I was excited to spend the rest of my life with Daniel. So we got married. It was a short ceremony. Fortunately, we had already talked to our pastor, like, what we wanted to do for our wedding on June 22nd. So it was kind of like our rehearsal, just a few months early. And after that, we took some pictures. My mom took pictures of us signing the documents. We took some pictures with just Dan and I. We took some pictures with the pastor and that kind of thing. And then my mom made a cake for us, just a simple cake. but it was just special. You know, and even at the time, like, we wanted to keep it secret and not tell a lot of people and that kind of thing. But I mean, who else? Not very many people get to tell that story and sit there and say, yeah, I got married twice and did this, and just it's a cool story. It's like, you know, and the excitement of it, and something unique, and something hopefully that Thomas will be excited about learning about in the future. So that's the story of Dan and I's first wedding, which happened 7 years ago today on April 21st. And anyways, it was the fact that we got married twice is even a little bit more special to me, for the fact that I had a friend that just got married on Saturday, where her and her husband got married over Zoom. Like, their pastor was in the States and they were here, and they did a legal ceremony and everything before that, but it was just, their story's different. And then they're still planning on having a wedding in the States, and just, you know, if you have a unique story, or something doesn't exactly go how you had planned it and things, like, that's okay. Just hold on to the fact that the story will be fun and exciting, and yeah, you can just share it with others later and laugh and smile about it, and just go with what comes. And that's really important to remember with the circumstances right now. So that's the story for today. We'll talk to you later. Bye. God bless.